Okay, welcome to the second lesson in this short 3-lesson unit on exponent laws. So the one question here deals with fraction exponents, rational exponents. Last lesson we talked about negative exponents and zero exponents, and we will keep talking about those, but we want to add in what to do with a fraction as well. And so we asked the question if, and I actually want to change 4, like it doesn't really matter there, but I change it down here. So if one of the 3 means we multiply 4 by itself 3 times, what do you think 9 to the 1/2 means? What do you think 9 to the 3/2 mean? So you can go ahead and think about that, what it actually does. And we have talked about this before in quadratics. So we asked the question, like, what is really half of 9 multiplication-wise? And so this is just a way that I've always found that really helps to visualize what a fractional exponent means. If you take 9 and cut it in 2 halves 3 times, we actually would usually think of that as 4.5 and 4.5, and that is half of 9. But if you think like multiplication-wise, so if you want to break up 9 into half, like you can actually say is 3 times 3. So if you think like multiplying by 1 whole 9 is like multiplying by 9, multiplying by half a 9 would be like multiplying by 3, because if you multiply by 3 twice, you get 9. Half of 9 is just 3. And so we just say that 9 to the 1/2 equals 3. 9 to the 3/2 then is similar like that, except if 9 to the 1/2 is 3, or so if 3 is a half of 9, then 3/2 is 3 3s. And so 9 to the 3/2 is 3 3s multiplied together, which is 27. And this is how we deal with fractional exponents. Kind of like proving a fractional exponents dealing with the square root, being the same thing as square root, we look at something similar to this. And the exponent laws say if you have the same base, you can add the exponents. And so if we add the exponents, we actually get 1/2 plus a half, which is 1, and which equals 3. From radicals, we've seen that if we take the square root of 3 times square root of 3, we get the square root of 9, which is also 3. And so we see that if you have a half exponent, that's the same as a square root. A third is a cubed root. A fourth is a quarter or a fourth root. And to the 1 over n is the nth root. Okay, and that's how we deal with rational exponents. So ask the question, what's 27 to the 1/3 then? And so we can say, well, if we break 27 up into 3 parts, we just take one of them. And one of those parts says that 1/3 of 27 is 3 with respect to exponents. So we can write that the cubed root of 27, which is the same thing as 27 to the 1/3, is 3. You don't have to write this, we're just saying that the answer is 3. 625 to the 1/4, you got to ask yourself, well, what do you break 625 into? And it's going to be 4 parts. So 625 can be broken up into 4 parts as 5 times 5 times 5 times 5. And if we take one of those parts, we just get 5. So 1/4 of 625 is 5 with respect to exponents. So we can say that the 4th root of 625 is 5. The next one kind of builds on that. 8, we're going to break it up into 3 parts from the denominator. We can break 8 into 3 parts by saying 2 times 2 times 2. And if we want 2 of those parts, we can circle the 2 parts, and we say that 2/3 of 8 is 4. And so the first step there is we find the cubed root, and that gives you 2. The second step is to square it, and that gives you 4. Okay? So the cubed root of 8 is the 1/3 part, and then square the answer to take 2 parts there. We get 4. 32 to the 3/5 is similar to that. We can break up 32 into 5 parts and take 3 of them. 32 to the 3/5 just gives you 8. 81, kind of combining negative exponents with fractional exponents, we can deal with the negative first. And so, like, remember that like a negative exponent doesn't make a negative number, it just makes it a fraction. So we can make this a fraction, 1 over 81 to the 1/2. 81 to the 1/2 can be broken up into two parts, and if we're just taking one of them, or half the parts, we've got 81 to the 1/2 equals 9. So the answer is just 1 over 9. Then dealing with a negative base, we ask ourselves, okay, well, what can we break up? We do it just the same as we did before. Break up negative 125 into three parts, and that's going to be negative 5 times negative 5 times negative 5. It is helpful to point out that we can only solve a negative to a fractional exponent if it is an odd number. If this was negative, it wouldn't be 125, but if this was negative 625 to the 1/4, we wouldn't be able to do it. This is similar to you can't square root a negative, but you can cube root a negative. You can't take a fourth root or a sixth root. You can't take an eventh root of a negative. If we just take one of those parts, we get the cubed root of negative 125 is negative 5. Okay, and there's some practice questions you can work on.